give people a flavor for what the show may or may not be because there are no rules for the show.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just a bunch of people talking about their love of machines.
yeah. Or their love with machines. So let's start the intro then. Hey everybody, this is Home Lab Chat, and I'm Rob Newport,
And I'm Clement Sang.
and we're just going to be talking about home labs and just interested to hear your stories.
It's not just limited to computers, it's basically anything electronic to relive our origin stories about why we love how things work and then reinventing those things into new things. Yeah, so Rob has a particular desire to collect lots of stuff. How many computers do you have right now?
Oh man, I've got like about 12 that I work in the incubator at the local university, Macquarie University, and I got to be mates with the e-waste coordinator there. And I was telling him I was making a prototype for this rapid analysis company that I've got in the startup. And he basically was like, we're chucking out all these old Dells. And so there was about 12 of them. And they all had some pretty nice parts in them. And instead of ordering a bunch of single board computers from Shenzhen, I just thought, hey, maybe I could Frankenstein some of these together. So I pulled out the SSDs from them, I pulled out the RAM from them, started cobbling together some prototypes, and for absolutely free, I got some pretty interesting, very small, low cost computers together to kind of start this new company that I was interested in. The problem was that they were just so power hungry. They were really, even though they weren't super powerful, they had 200 or 300 watt power supplies in them each. So that got me thinking, like, could I somehow reduce the amount of power that these computers were running, but increase the amount of compute they could do? And I've got about maybe 12 running right now, but they're all very low compute, low powered, task specific computers. What about you, Clem? What have you got running?
All the viewers can see I'm wearing a Counter-Strike vintage t-shirt, but I don't actually watch other people play while I'm playing. That's way too distracting. I'm trying to stay alive and not, have some 14-year-old take me out in the first 2 seconds.
Do you have like a PlayStation or an Xbox or anything like that? Or you just stick to computer gaming?
So I had the first Xbox, which we bought from the US, and I had to use this power converter as well, which was this big
Oh,
clunky
wow.
box.
Yeah.
And we were either playing Warcraft or StarCraft or Quake 2 or Unreal Tournament on a LAN. Um,
Mm.
this is pre-fast bandwidth, pre-Wi-Fi.
So you
Um,
did LAN parties at your house?
we did it everywhere. So I started playing first person shooter games in kind of 94. And that was with Half-Life 2 and what was then the first patch of Team Fortress and Counter-Strike 1.1, I think it was. So it was still early days. And I was like, what is this highly engaging form of competitiveness? And from there up to 97, I was playing in a clan, if you will, doing 4 versus 4. We would turn up to lands to compete. And then by 1998, 99, a group of us thought, hey, World Cyber Games, or WCG, which is now defunct, was becoming popular. Intel was the powerhouse processor at the time, and they were sponsoring WCG, and we were adamant about raising money to launch a esports league. But we were going to do it differently. We were going to call it the Sports of the Future. So our business was called Battle Arts. But rather than just turn up and make lands, we wanted to make landing more efficient. So what we did is we took 4 PCs and we ripped them apart and we stuck them in a box, and it was called the quad box. And the quad box basically was designed to be highly transportable. One power socket, one LAN cable, turn it on, open up the sides, and you'd have immediately 4 people able to play against each other. 5.1 surround sound, radio mics 2-on-2. So we were fully pressing every single angle in terms of what was possible as it relates to the hardware. Um, it took us about probably 6 months, and there's photos of the garage that you'll see. So we got a welder to weld the steel case. It had tripod legs. We had used wood to fashion the base, the walls, and the top. We had CRT 17-inch monitors sitting inside, so we learned a lot because we then fully understand how heavy this thing was. Because four monitors plus four PCs, even if they're stripped apart, is actually quite a heavy load. It took four people to open this box up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then we had to find a
yeah,
truck for it to fit in. Um,
yeah.
and then we spray painted everything. We even had curtains so people couldn't cheat. The curtain would allow for branding and promotion on the sides, but the actual usage was to hang the two rear speakers so that the person would then enjoy 5.1 surround sound, because there was also a vibration backrest, haptic. So you had a haptic backrest, front and rear speakers, a helmet that had the walkie-talkie so you could talk to your other teammate to do two and two. Right.
It's
With
amazing.
one
That's
with
like
one
that's like
power socket.
esports level.
Yeah, and one power socket with one LAN cable. So you could then scale it and go 4, 8, 12s, whatever. You could just turn up and suddenly have 64 machines, and it'd be easy to set up very quickly. Within 2 years, though, uh, Wi-Fi arrived, fast internet arrived. It meant that nobody wanted to go LAN anymore.
Mm,
So fortunate for us, we did a LAN at Market City Shopping Centre in Central / Redfern. We did 2 weeks in Macquarie Centre where we did a showcase. We turned up at the Australian Game Developers Conference, or AGDC at the time, in 99 2000 to try to get Intel to look at it and go, hey, we'll put some money behind your crazy box. And we featured at the Easter show where we were there for 4 weeks, right? And
hmm
we had a lot of foot traffic. We had a lot of people who've never seen a LAN before go, what is this 16 machines all together that you can play on the same map? So from an interactivity perspective, people were blown away. We had sponsors. We were running double ATI Radeon cards that were 8 megs each. So we had 16 meg worth of video card. We had Microsoft provide us with Age of Empires 2, fully licensed.
Oh wow.
We have controllers from the French. So we really try to push it. But yes, I think the fatigue of running that many events took a toll. And yeah, I think we just got too interested in playing and less around the idea of organizing it. But we met a lot of people and had a good time. So that was probably my only labbing experience, which is in my garage with a team of 8 to 10 friends over 6 months, creating this box with 4 computers in it.
Oh man, that's amazing, dude. Great story. Like, I feel like back when because I did some LAN parties too, but mostly the we went to the school and we just kind of because I was working as a basically like a student assistant for this lab. So I had the keys to the lab, so we'd all just go to the lab at midnight and we'd just LAN party at the school lab. But I think maybe with the kind of advent of high speed internet, it's not only kind of, I think ironically, it's brought a lot more friends into your network with gaming, but it's kind of ironic, but you never meet them, so you never see them. And when a game runs stale, it's like sometimes you never see them again. It's just, it's kind of this weird kind of I feel like maybe you had fewer people in your gaming network with LAN parties, but they would stick around for a really long time, and you'd together go into the next game, or you'd kind of all decide on whether you wanted to switch out of, for me it was like Quake 2 or Unreal or something and switch into something else.
And I think
But I
that's
think
what, no, no, I
yeah,
agree with you. I think over the last 2 decades, as consumer electronics became more accessible, the denseness, right,
yeah.
had lost its quality, because you had people who were really passionate, and then you had a larger base of people who are now consumerized in terms of the content or the format. and they didn't go deep. And now we're at this point where you have so many options where you have a light general knowledge of everything, but nothing very deep. You do have pockets and tribes of people who are completely focused on, Django Fett and the story of Django and pictures and,
Yeah.
cosplaying Django, Django, Django. But that community is maybe a few hundred people in Australia.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, a few hundred people who liked gaming, that was a hardcore set of people. And they really went deep into that. And I think that leads to the idea that there's less ideation now, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot of schools and a lot of universities talk about entrepreneurship and innovation
Yeah.
and design thinking. But that tends to be more on the software and the business model structure about ideation and less around creation of physical things, let alone
Yeah.
software. But I think that's what one of the purposes of this chat is to ideate and think, hey, that's not hard to do. Actually, if we get a group of people, we could probably build that in a couple of days.
And I think our network in Australia too is pretty tight knit. You know, it's like I just got message this morning from some guy on Reddit who just reached out to me and is like, "Hey, I'm in Sydney too." You know, it's it's like when you're into home labs and you're in the same city, it's like a novelty. So we're gonna have a chat later and just talk about what we're both up to. But sometimes when there's not that many people in a city, it kind of brings a lot of us closer together and makes it a little bit easier for us to chat. It's just a matter of like reaching out and taking that risk and introducing yourself, which I think a lot of Australians are pretty good at. So I think that wraps it up for today's chat. I hope you know a little bit more about me and Clem, and hope to see you guys more in the future.
Thanks for listening in.